What if I told you that developers have a secret strategy specifically designed to get more money out of home buyers like you, and it's completely legal?
I've been in this industry long enough to have sat across from buyers who thought they got a great deal on a new construction home and watched that feeling completely unravel. The contract they signed, the upgrades they paid for, the incentives they were offered, all of it looked one way on the surface and worked very differently underneath.
And here's what I can tell you. The sales center, whether it's in Surrey, Langley, or anywhere else in BC, is not on your side. And if you walk in there without knowing what I'm about to show you, you are starting the biggest financial decision of your life at a serious disadvantage. In today's video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how this all works and what it could cost you if you don't know what to look for.
You only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right.
Hey, before we kick things off, if you're thinking about buying or selling in White Rock or South Surrey, the biggest mistake that you can make right now is relying on outdated advice or guessing your next move. The market has shifted, and what worked even 6 months ago could cost you tens of thousands today. My name is Darren. I'm a realtor living and working here in the White Rock and South Surrey area, and I've been helping families buy and sell since 2007. Now, since then, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients, many of whom found me right here on this very YouTube channel because they wanted straight answers, real local insight, and a strategy that actually works. On this channel, I break down exactly what's happening in our market, what to watch out for, and how to make smart decisions so you don't leave any money on the table. So if you want to stay ahead of the market, hit subscribe. And if you're serious about making a move, there's a link below in the description of this video to book a quick call with me and my team. There's no pressure, just clear advice so you can move forward with confidence. The problem is not that new construction is a bad option. For a lot of buyers, it can be a great one. The problem is that the entire process is structured to benefit the developer from the moment you walk in the door to the day that you get the keys.
The contracts, the incentives, the upgrades, the financing, every single piece of it has been carefully designed by teams of lawyers and marketers who do this every single day. And you are walking in, likely for the first time, with nothing but excitement and a pre-approval letter.
So let me pull back the curtain here. I'm gonna walk you through the specific tactics that developers use one by one, so that by the time we are done, you will know exactly what to watch out for, what to question, and what could end up costing you thousands of dollars if you miss it. We're gonna cover the developer's favorite game, the incentive game, and talk about why the deal that you think you got may not even be a deal at all. We're going to look at the contract and what developers can legally change after you have already signed. We're gonna talk about things like upgrades and what you're actually paying for versus what they're actually worth. We will get into the sales center itself and who those friendly reps are really working for. And finally, we're going to talk about financing and why buying something years before it's built comes with risks most first-time buyers never see coming. So let's get right into it.
Let's start with incentives. When you walk into a sales center, you will almost certainly be offered something. Free upgrades, closing cost coverage, discount on your parking stall. And it feels good. It feels like they like you negotiated well, like you got something that other people didn't.
That's exactly the point. What most buyers don't realize is that these incentives are handed out inconsistently on purpose. One buyer, the person that came in before you, gets free flooring. Another gets a credit on their deposit. Another gets nothing at all. And none of them know what the other person got because nobody is comparing notes. Here's why that matters. Developers need to show that comparable units in the building sold at the same price. It protects their appraisals and justifies what they're charging the next buyer. So instead of dropping the price, which would show up on record eventually when the property completes, they give you something under the table. The price stays the same. The deal looks consistent, and the developer gets exactly what they wanted out of every single sale. And here's the part that really gets me. There is no public record of what incentives were offered. There is no way for you to know what the buyer in unit 412 got versus what you got in unit 208. And worse yet, there is no public record of what anybody actually paid for a pre-sale unit in that development. So when you walk into a sales center and walk out with some of those perceived upgrades the developer dangled in front of you like it was a carrot, that was by design. You walk away feeling like you won. And the developer walks away having protected their pricing on every unit still left to sell. You didn't get a deal, you got the illusion of one. Now, let's talk about the contract. And I really want you to hear this part because this is where I see buyers get hurt the most. honest. The contract you sign when you buy new construction was not written with you in mind. It was written by a team of lawyers whose job is to protect the developer. Every single clause, every single condition, every single line of fine print exists to give the developer flexibility and limit yours. Here's what that looks like in practice. A developer can reserve the right to change the size of your unit. They can swap out appliances, the finishings, the fixtures, and substitute them for something of comparable value, a term that they get to define. The completion date can shift, sometimes by months, sometimes longer, and in most cases, there's very little that you can do about it. And it goes even further than that. I have seen contracts where the final purchase price was tied to an index, meaning the price that you agreed to on day one was not actually the price that you paid on closing day. That is not a typo. The number you budgeted around, the number you built your life around could move, and the contract allows for it. Here's the reality. You were signing a document that was built to give the developer every advantage, and most buyers sign it after a single walkthrough of a show suite with nothing but excitement and a dream of a brand new home. Before you sign anything, that contract needs to be reviewed by a real estate lawyer or a real estate professional who specializes in new construction, not skimmed, not summarized by the sales rep, reviewed line by line, someone who's working for you. All right, next, let's talk about upgrades because this one is personal for me. When you sit down at the upgrade appointment, it feels exciting. You are picking finishes for your brand new home, flooring, countertops, fixtures, appliances, and the presentation is beautiful. Everything is laid out in a gorgeous display center. The samples are high end and the sales associate is warm and helpful. What you are not seeing is the margins that are built into every single item on that list. Developers buy upgrades at wholesale. Of course they do, right? They sell them to you at retail or even above it. And because you're making decisions in a really emotionally charged environment on a timeline without the ability to shop around or get a competing quote, most buyers just say yes. And here's the part that rarely gets talked about. For a lot of upgrades, you generally don't have a choice, not a practical one anyways. If the base package comes with carpet and you want laminate, you're not going to move into your brand new home and immediately rip out the flooring. Nobody does that. So you pay what they are asking because the alternative is living with something that you never wanted in the first place. That is not a free market. That is a captive one. But, and this is important, not every upgrade works that way. There are things on that upgrade list that can absolutely be done after the fact, privately, for significantly less. Things like EV chargers, garage floor epoxy coatings, shelving and storage systems, light fixtures. These are not structural. These are not things that need to be done before you move in, and every single one of them will cost you less if you wait and hire someone yourself. Let me give you a real example. I recently saw a garage floor epoxy upgrade being offered at a new construction project for a townhome, your average 400 square foot garage, and it was going to cost about $4,000 to have the developer do it. Now, that same job done privately after you take possession would run somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000. That is a markup of at least $1,000 on one upgrade in one room of your home. So here's the move. For anything that is baked into the structure of the home, flooring, countertops, cabinetry, price it out before your appointment so you know what you're actually paying. And for anything that can be added after the fact, skip it entirely. Do it yourself on your own timeline at a price that actually makes sense. And now we definitely got to talk about the sales center. But before we do that, quick heads up. If you're even thinking about buying a home anywhere in BC, you're going to want to grab a copy of our free guide, 18 grants and rebates for home buyers. We pulled together every program we could find, federal, provincial, and even some lesser known local ones, plus links, tips, and simple ways to actually use them. Most of these are buried, confusing, or completely missed by buyers, and this could save you thousands. It's free, and you can download it right now by using the link in the description of this video. Okay, back to sales centers, because I think this is the piece that surprises buyers the most when they find this out, okay? So when you walk into a new construction sales center, you are greeted by someone who knows the product inside out. They are professional, they are personable, and they are genuinely helpful. And it is very easy, completely understandable, to treat that interaction the way that you would treat, say, working with a realtor. Like they're there to help you find the right fit. But here's what most buyers do not know. Many of the people working in new construction sales centers are not licensed realtors. They are sales representatives employed directly by the developer. And that means they have one job: to sell you that product at the best possible price for the developer. There is no obligation to disclose the things that might give you pause. There is no duty to point out the clauses in the contract that don't favor you. There is no requirement to tell you what incentives other buyers received. They are not your agent. They are not working for you. And the sooner that you understand that dynamic walking in, the better equipped you are to navigate it. This is exactly why having your own representation matters so much in a new construction purchase. A licensed real estate professional who is working for you, not the developer, can ask questions that you don't even know to ask, review what's being offered, and make sure that you are not leaving that sales center having agreed to something that doesn't serve you. The coffee is free, but the advice is neutral. Know the difference. And finally, we have to talk about financing, because this is one that can unravel absolutely everything, and it is the one that most first-time buyers think about the least when they are standing in that sales center excited about their new home. When you buy new construction, you are not buying something that exists yet. You are signing a contract today for something that will be built months, sometimes years from now. And a lot can change between the day you sign and the day that you get your keys. Let's start with interest rates. When you get pre-approved for a mortgage, that rate is not locked in for 2 or 3 years. Most rate holds last somewhere between 90 to 120 days. If your completion date gets pushed, and in new construction, delays are quite common, you could be facing a completely different rate environment than the one that you planned around. In fact, we saw this exactly play out with buyers who purchased during the real estate run-up from mid-2020 to early 2022 when mortgage rates were at emergency lows. This was due to COVID, and then watch those rates sharply spike in mid-2022 as inflation took hold and the Bank of Canada tried to address it. A rate that moves even 0.5% can meaningfully change what you can qualify for and what your monthly payment looks like. Then there's your appraisal. Your lender is going to appraise the property before they finalize your mortgage. And if the market has shifted since you signed, which in a multi-year build timeline is entirely possible, that appraisal may come in lower than your purchase price. And when that happens, your lender, well, they'll only finance based on the appraised value. The gap between that number and what you agreed to pay, well, that comes out of your pocket. I've seen buyers get caught in both of these situations, not because they were careless, but because nobody told them that it was possible. So before you sign on a new construction purchase, you need to have a conversation with a mortgage professional about long-term rate holds. They do exist, and you need to go in clear-eyed about what a failed appraisal could mean for your finances. Hope for the best, but plan for reality. Look, I want to be clear about something. I'm not telling you to avoid new construction. There are great projects out there, great developers out there, and for the right buyer in the right situation, it can be an incredible option. What I am telling you is that walking in uninformed is where buyers get hurt. And that is what I'm not okay with, because these are not small decisions. This is likely the largest purchase of your life. And the process you are walking into was not designed with your best interests at the center of it. That does not mean that you cannot come out ahead. It just means that you need to know what you're dealing with before you walk through that door. And I want to be honest with you. What we covered today is not the whole picture. There is a lot more to know about buying new construction, and we have gone deep on a lot of it right here on this channel. If you search us up on YouTube, you will find other videos covering everything from specific red flags to watch for, to how to read a new construction contract, to what questions to ask even before you step foot into a sales center. It's all there, and it's all free. Now, here is the good news. Everything I just walked you through, every tactic, every risk, everything to watch for, there is a way to protect yourself from all of it. And that's exactly what I'm covering in the video coming up next. We're going to talk about the legislation that exists in British Columbia to protect new construction buyers, how to choose a developer you can actually trust, and what your realtor and your lawyer should be doing for you in this process. If you are seriously considering new construction right now, you want to watch that video before you do anything else. I'll link it down below. But better yet, the good news is that video is coming up next. But before you leave, and if this video gave you something to think about, share it with someone who is in the market right now, because the best thing that you can do for a first-time buyer, is making sure that they are walking in with their eyes wide open. I'll see you on the video coming up next. Most people buying a new construction home in BC have never heard of the law that is supposed to protect them, and the people selling that home are counting on that.
It is called REDMA, the Real Estate Development and Marketing Act, and it is the primary piece of legislation governing how new construction properties are marketed and sold in British Columbia.